Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we're going to dive into a special topic around narcissism, soul growth potentials, and the astrology chart. And I felt this would be valuable and helpful to many of you, especially if you are a light worker, empath, starseed, or very tuned in to energetics, especially the energetics on the planet right now, because there certainly seems to be collective experience around the rise of narcissism in our world, in our cultures, and in our personal lives. And I think this could be fascinating to understand, as well as to redirect you to your power, your choices, what you are learning, what you are strengthening in this lifetime, as well as why it's essential to break a cycle, break a pattern that is not serving you and has perhaps been an unconscious experience in your life. So I'm going to discuss the energies of narcissism, starting with a basic question. Can you look at a person's astrology chart and determine if they are narcissistic? Can you pull up the chart, run the details, and determine that? And the answer is no. No, you cannot. And let me explain why. There are many factors in an astrology chart that you don't know until you're in conversation with somebody. You need to know their life story, their experiences. Their level of consciousness is very important, as well as their choices and what they have been through in their life. So when we look at certain things in a chart, not only narcissism, but many other factors such as their race or sexual identity, cultural influences, belief systems, how they are currently living their life, all of that becomes evident through connection and conversation. Because when you consider that multiple people, literally millions of people, are born on the same day and can have very similar charts, especially those who are born at the same time in the same location, they're still going to have different life experiences and different influences that create who they are. So there are factors around each of us that aren't evident in an astrology chart until you learn about this person. For example, someone who is born and grows up in a specific religion or belief system is going to learn about their identity and who they are within that environment that shapes them, which is going to be drastically different than the individual born at the same time, same location, and same date who grows up in an agnostic environment where religion is not practiced, or perhaps there's a very different socioeconomic status. So these are important considerations to take into account, and they certainly apply to how an individual develops, grows, and how they show up in the world based on many influences, including the role of nature and the role of nurture. Now, there are astrological traditions that subscribe to determinism, which is considered, at least nowadays, an older version of astrological interpretation, where the astrology chart determines who someone is, including how their life will unfold, because it is determined by the birth chart. Over the centuries, astrology has expanded and has become more humanistic. And you could say this was pivotal due to the role of Carl Jung, who not only was a practicing psychiatrist, psychotherapist, and psychologist who heavily focused on analytical psychology, but he also brought in astrology as a tool to understanding human nature through archetypal expressions. He saw astrology as a tool for greater personal understanding because he saw that the astrological archetypes related to energies in the collective unconscious. This perspective made astrology more individual and humanistic and helped to evolve it in our understanding of how we are shaped and formed as individuals, and also at some level honored the complexity of the individual, which also conversely honored the complexity of astrology. And so as a chart is analyzed, interpreted, or explored, there are many more layers that are not truly known until that individual is known. And so this is how astrology can actually guide us into not only greater self-understanding, but to understand what we are learning in connections, relationships, and partnerships with others, as well as the unconscious patterns that could arise that we begin to see and identify. And so I thought it would be beneficial to focus on narcissism because of how prevalent it is in the collective at this time, and to understand how you can be in your power while also seeing what is in your chart that you are learning through these interactions or experiences. Because with all the ways we might be interested in unpacking someone else's chart or understanding it, there can be very wrong interpretations. And one of the most beneficial things you can do is focus on what you are learning, what you are understanding, what you are moving through in this lifetime, and how to change those patterns, those energies, and even that life direction for yourself. Now, when we look at the history of narcissism, we go back, of course, to Greek mythology, which can be one of the first origination sources for our understanding of not only narcissism, but of course, many other parts of our world. And so the story goes in Greek mythology that a lovely nymph by the name of Liriope gave birth to a beautiful child named Narcissus. And after she gave birth to him, she sought out the local seer who would tell her about her son's fate and her son's future. And the seer told her that the boy would live a long life if he never came to know himself. If he never truly saw himself, he would have a long life. And so this was his predicted destiny and future. Now, during his 16th year, he was out with friends hunting in the forest when he got lost and separated from his group. As he was wandering around the forest, he became thirsty. He came upon a small reflective pool where he kneeled down to drink, and this is where he saw his reflection in the water for the very first time. The very first time he ever saw himself, and he instantly fell in love with his own beauty. But he also did not realize it was his own reflection. He thought it was someone else. He thought it was another. There was no connection to a self-concept, or even that he would be gazing at himself. And because he fell so deeply in love with himself, he wasn't able to leave the water side because he didn't think another would love him or see him with the same amount as love as he had for himself. The tale goes that he eventually died staring at himself, and at this same spot is where his energy turned into a gold and white flower that was called Narcissus, although now we would refer to it as a daffodil. There are different versions of this story, but they all come back to the same trope that this was someone who was so consumed by pathological self-absorption that it affected him mentally, emotionally, and physically. Now, Sigmund Freud has stated that narcissism is a normal stage in child development, that there are periods where we're learning about ourselves and we are self-absorbed in our own self-identity and self-knowingness. But there are factors that are meant to grow, mature, and develop, and so it becomes a disorder after puberty. And when it becomes extreme, it is certainly seen as a negative personality trait and is commonly associated with psychopathy and Machiavellism. Now, I do need to state, and I probably should have said this earlier, that it is important to seek out professional support for anything you might be healing or moving through in regards to narcissism or any of these similar themes, that I am not giving you official medical or professional advice, and that this can be a very serious experience to heal from or to seek help around. So if you identify as a narcissist, or you're questioning it, there is help and support for that, just as there is help and support for anyone who is healing from any kind of narcissistic dynamic, and especially narcissistic abuse. Now, narcissism is a word that is thrown around a lot these days. It's used to describe people for many reasons, and those can be both accurate and inaccurate uses of the term. And so let's go to a credible source, which is the DSM-5, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, and how narcissistic personality disorder is described. And it's described through 9 specific expressions. Number 1, inflated self-esteem or a grandiose sense of self-importance or superiority. Number 2, craving admiration. Number 3, exploitative relationships, which is manipulation. Number 4, little to no empathy. 5, identity is easily disturbed, can't handle criticism, can't handle negative feedback. Number 6, lack of attachment and intimacy, meaning unable to form healthy connections and bonds. Number 7, feelings of depression or emptiness when not validated. So always seeking external validation and needing to be energetically supported outside of oneself. Number 8, a sense of entitlement. And number 9, can feel like others are envious of them or may envy others in return. These 9 factors compose narcissistic personality disorder. However, it states that there needs to be at least 5 out of 9 present. So an individual needs to demonstrate actively 5 of these qualities out of 9. So what we're focusing on is looking at what in your chart is connecting to another and learning about yourself and your needs through any connection to a narcissistic individual. Now, this can have many factors and it becomes quite complicated as well as very, very specific and individual. So, for example, in your family, it could be generational. If you have a parent, a mother or a father who embodied any of these characteristics, a minimum of 5, then that absolutely influenced you at your unconscious state in childhood. That was the environment you grew up around. That was your conditioning and your programming that you might not realize until later in life, until you recognize the pattern, until you see and feel energies in yourself that are coming up. And they're coming up to get your attention, for you to see what is happening within you and how as an adult you make new choices. You're able to do more of the inner work and heal from the experiences that your inner child had. Now you could have the experience with a narcissist or narcissistic personality through work, in the workplace. It could be something with friends or those around you who, for example, lack empathy, who don't care what you feel or what you think or what you need, who always need to be the most important one in the room. Keep in mind that going back to number 7 on this list, feelings of depression or emptiness when not validated, is how there can be an unconscious shift into victim mode, where this is the person who doesn't take responsibility or accountability, but then they are always the victim. Things always happen to them. There's no self-reflection or personal responsibility around their own actions, choices, or words. And if you notice this in someone, that would be something to be aware of, as well as to bring up to their attention, perhaps, through a conversation. And if someone isn't able to have that conversation or self-reflect, that's something to be aware of. In your own chart, it would be important to look at astrological placements where there is an overemphasis on providing or doing too much to keep the relationship going. What happens when you need something or you're seeking equilibrium and reciprocity? Are you receiving as much as you're giving? Are you allowing yourself to receive? In an astrology chart, you would look at someone's experiences of being an overgiver, where they have to do everything maybe to take care of someone. If a mother is narcissistic, do you always have to take care of her? Do her needs become more dominant and more apparent? I was watching one of those guilty pleasure reality shows where the mother was absolutely the one who needed and commanded a lot of attention. She didn't have the capacity to truly hear her daughter's trauma or understand what her daughter needed. In fact, when her daughter presented her with some very horrific and abusive experiences she's been through, the mother made it all about how hard that was for her. So these kinds of observations of other people can be very eye-opening. And it's important to look at what your patterns might be in over-giving, over-providing, versus where do you stand strong in who you are and what you need? Are you comfortable asking for what you need from a place of self-love and self-worth? Sometimes there can be an unconscious desire to care too much, to be too empathetic, to give someone a second chance, or only believe in their potential instead of the reality of who they are. So if that is present and alive in a chart, then it would be important to look at that and understand that for yourself, that you deserve to be cared for, you deserve to be loved and appreciated. And you also deserve to accept reality as it is now, to accept the fact of how someone is showing up or how they're behaving or the choices they're making is exactly who they are. And if you are idealizing someone or putting too much emphasis on their future potential, which might not ever be realized, then you are in fact disconnected from a version of reality that is important for you to then pay attention to. So in your own chart, looking at your moon sign is how you seek connection with others on a daily basis, how you emotionally connect, what you're looking for, what you want to experience, and making sure that that moon sign is in a healthy balance, a healthy expression that not only honors how you connect to others, but also honors how you connect to yourself. Your sun sign is how you stand strong with confidence, self-love, and a deep respect for who you are without feeling that that has to be diminished for the sake of another. Again, going back to the DSM-5, the inflated self-esteem or a grandiose sense of self-importance or superiority. If you're constantly dealing with someone who has to be everything, who has to always get attention, who has to be catered to, who doesn't have room for you in their life or is inconvenienced by your presence or who you are, it's very important to pay attention to any of those patterns and any of those feelings that are arising for you, because they could be directly from your soul whispering to you, pay attention to this pattern. And your sun sign doesn't want to dim its light, doesn't want to hold back the truth of who you are and what you deserve to experience. So what you're learning is how to develop a stronger sense of self, as well as to assess where that is not being respected, as well as where that might be out of balance, especially over a long-term basis. Now, because there are many experiences of narcissism and dealing with narcissistic personalities, I'm speaking in general terms here, but it seems to be a pattern with those who are highly empathetic, where you are the empath and you love giving, you love providing, you love connection, but you might realize you have a very low bar for what those standards are, and that you are the one who is propping up or holding up more than is your fair share. And again, it's going back to where these patterns began, often unconsciously, and doing your own internal healing work around what that is for you. And because this is quite personal, you often might realize or feel that you're alone in the healing of this pattern or of this dynamic. And it's only other people who have been in a same situation who would understand how damaging narcissistic abuse can be, as well as what is required for your own healing journey. It is important to not blame yourself or to make yourself the victim, because what you're learning can be many beautiful things. So don't victimize yourself, at least for the long term. This is an opportunity to reclaim the experiences you've had and to maybe have some kind of dividing line in your journey where you realized, I was unconscious about it for this long. I didn't know this was what was happening. I didn't know these were my formative experiences or relationships. I just didn't know. And then you hit a turning point. There is a certain level of consciousness that comes through and you realize the dynamic or what's going on. And that is the point when you step into more of your power, more choices, and more self-love. You step into a higher understanding of your own worthiness. And that is the determining point where you're no longer unconscious. So see this as a journey of consciousness into more of your own self-empowerment, and that the narcissistic experiences actually gifted you with deeper self-realization, gifted you with more to understand about your own energy and your own needs, and also opens up an opportunity to bring you into greater self-love, self-balance, and to experience a whole new level of connections. Now, one thing that happens for most individuals who have been through narcissistic relationships is that there are various forms of narcissistic abuse that you go through and you don't realize, perhaps at the time, that it's abusive. And other people might not realize it either. It's not a form of entertainment. It's not a form of drama and gossip. It's abuse. It's emotional abuse, verbal abuse, energetic or spiritual abuse. And it goes back to what the narcissistic personality seeks out. And so perhaps you've heard of gaslighting, right? And that's a very common tool that is used by narcissistic individuals where there is no accountability, there's no ownership, and there's no remorse for anything they've done because they turn it all on you. They're never to blame. They're not responsible. It's sort of like whatever you say, they will use it against you. They will turn it around against you. If you were to say, that's an ugly shirt, just as a very stupid example, then they would say, no, you're wearing an ugly shirt. And so one of the things that you have to understand with this kind of personality is that one of the best things you can do is absolutely detach. They are dead to you. You go cold turkey because they're only going to continue to engage you in a battle that they want because it's their narcissistic supply. So narcissistic supply goes back to what the DSM-5 describes as feeling empty, needing admiration, manipulating relationships, no empathy at all about harm or pain or hurt that they cause. These are very destructive personality types who will sabotage and destroy anything good in their life. And so they then need that narcissistic supply from others. They always need attention, validation, admiration, supply from others to validate and affirm who they are. And it's external because it doesn't exist internally. Narcissistic supply from as many sources as possible is often fantastic in whatever form feeds it. And this is why they will have multiple phones or multiple people around or always have a backup or someone standing in the wings that they call in so that there's always something validating them and giving them that narcissistic supply. This is why drama is desired or gossip. In fact, they might enjoy turning other people against you in order to control a narrative, in order to cover up any of their own actions, behaviors, or words. They also will do this through baiting. Baiting is an attempt to get your attention, get a response, an energetic buy-in that then supplies their narcissistic supply needs. So they will protect themselves. Remember, there's a grandiose energy here, a sense of superiority. I'm above it all. But they want your energy. And baiting can be one way that they do this. And then what they get to do is unleash on you with more fierceness, more anger. Spin the story in their direction. Again, going back to whatever you say about them, they'll say it's about you. So these are no-win situations because this kind of individual loves this fight. It feeds them. It is part of their narcissistic supply. They will also engage in character assassination, which can feel highly personal and targeted. That's because they have no empathy, no kindness, no feelings. They don't care if they try to humiliate you, to cause emotional harm, embarrassment, or pain. That humiliation is also a baiting tactic that feeds their need for attention, which feeds their narcissistic supply. They will do this behind the scenes as well as publicly and love it when other people jump in to the character assassination because they continue to get attention from it. It's very common that they will attack you or engage in some kind of character assassination that is only one-sided. It's a one-sided narrative that only serves them. And it continues a storyline that benefits them, and they don't think they have to take any responsibility. They don't have to question it. They don't have to answer it. And they can often sense that they're above any consequences. Also, they will engage in this behavior when they're making money. If money's involved, in addition to attention and validation and drama, bring it on. And so this is why it's really important for you to get professional help and validation, to allow yourself to be heard, to strengthen in your energy and your self-respect, as well as to do what is best for you. And there are many who will advise you to never engage, never respond, never participate. This is why this individual is dead to you. They no longer exist, and that might be difficult, especially if you're in a workplace with someone or a family or a group of friends and you have to see them or you have to be around them. You can look at your Venus. Your Venus sign is how you connect and also determines who you connect to and why. Is this loving? Is this person kind? Is this person genuine and authentic in their desire to connect? Look at both the low and higher spectrums of your Venus expressions, which will reveal to you who you connect with and why. Venus is about our shared values, as well as our ability to give and receive, to have reciprocal dynamics that are loving and respectful. Your Mars is how you stand up for yourself, is how you assert your needs, your boundaries, what you want. Mars is anger, how you will unleash your feelings, how you will make it clear and known that you aren't going to take it, that you won't be involved in this. Mars can help you in establishing new boundaries. In fact, there are many areas of your astrology chart to look at in regards to how you establish and uphold boundaries. Now, there is a concept called gray rocking, and that's something to practice when you are around a narcissistic individual that you just have to deal with. And gray rocking is about no emotion, very little engagement, being simple, blunt, minimal. Gray rocking is where you don't allow your energy to participate in the dynamic. Now, oftentimes, a narcissistic individual will continue to seek out your supply and will continually try to get into your energy. They can have a very hard time letting go or moving on, especially if they're still seeking something from you. So this is where they will have flying monkeys. Flying monkeys are the people you have in common with this person, and the narcissist will ask them, the flying monkeys, to keep tabs on you and share what you are doing. Send me screenshots of her Facebook posts. Show me what she's doing if you come across it. It's like a reporting back. The flying monkeys fly away and then fly back to that source, the narcissistic source, to report on what you're doing. This is a form of manipulation where people are not aware that they are a flying monkey or what is truly happening behind the scenes, that in fact they are perpetuating a narcissistic narrative or participating in a situation that's unhealthy. It can be advised to cut out those flying monkeys, those people you have in common, or those people that you feel uncomfortable around. Like, are they lying to you? Are they spying on you? Are they reporting back on every little thing you do? So that the other person, the narcissist, is always aware and has tabs on you. It might not be easy to cut out flying monkeys, but this is again where you establish more boundaries. Perhaps you will notice a pattern of behavior here that makes you uncomfortable, and you realize, if we have this person in common and this flying monkey doesn't understand the dynamic, I'm going to have to establish new boundaries so that I don't feel that my privacy is being infringed upon. Another tactic that a narcissist may use is called hoovering. And that's where they try to test the waters to see if they can come back into your life. And that is a common trend with narcissists, is that they always come back around because they're still craving narcissistic supply from you. Hoovering is about picking up any scraps. Can I get any attention or validation from this person? Hoovering starts when they are low on supply from others or from you. They might play on your heartstrings. They might do some baiting. They might pretend to be someone they're not. This can be the love bombing stuff that starts again. This is a very manipulative tactic. They also will come around and hoover when things are going well for you because they come back to get something for themselves and they want to connect with your energy as a form of supply. But understand, there's often no apology, no remorse, no acknowledgement of previous or current behaviors. They're just coming back around to check in and to see what they can get from you. So again, there's a lot of complexities to these dynamics and connections, and you will want professional support, someone in your corner who understands exactly what you're going through. Because unless someone knows about these dynamics in narcissistic relationships, they won't fully get it or understand. This is not where you play the nice girl or the nice guy. This is not where you compromise or think you have to do something to keep the peace. They are dead to you. They will continue to lie. They will continue to share a one-sided story that only benefits them. This is why it is wise to question the narrative or question the intentions and actions and say, who is this serving? Is this validating them? Is this giving them more attention, more money, more supply, more admiration? And it's up to you to not feed into the nonsense, the toxic energy, or the drama. There will be lies. There will be character assassinations. That's just part of the dynamic. And you got to get stronger. You got to power up. You got to stay the course, knowing who you are. And of all the lies they could spin, you know that they're not true. Like, for example, if you block someone first, they spin the story to make it say that they blocked you. And that's just laughable. So stand strong in what you know is the truth, because the universe knows too. The universe knows what you're learning, your path, your soul growth, how you're taking an experience and you're claiming it as this is going to only make me better. And think of how a rock can spin around inside one of those rock tumblers. And the more that it spins and churns and gets pounded, the more polished it becomes. The edges wear off. It becomes more refined, smoother, more evolved. And it's your ability to claim the strength of these experiences that matter the most. Because the reality is we live in a world where narcissistic behaviors can perpetuate. They can exist. They can fool people. They can be full of fake energy and ridiculous lies. There can be mental disorders attached, childhood trauma, certainly a lack of self-awareness. And basically, these are people who are unsafe. They are dangerous in some way. They are unsafe to be around. They will destroy or sabotage anything good in their life. They won't know how to create sincere, authentic connections because they don't hold that frequency within them. And so there is some type of universal component here that we are moving through collectively, where it's important to be clearer and stronger in your energies, to not be hyper vigilant or to not assume that everyone is a narcissist, or just because someone's having a bad day or going through a hard phase, they are narcissistic. You could also say that the current social media culture supports narcissism, supports people being so self-involved and not caring or being empathetic to others, that it's easier for this energy at this time to exist and grow. It can also be a side effect of not having supportive, caring connections with others. So what you can do is not only seek support from a professional, but prioritize your own growth here and what you're learning. You must walk away and be done. The earlier the better. They are dead to you. You go cold turkey. And even if they reach out to you or text you or do anything to reconnect, it's the not responding that is your power. It's the detachment that is what's needed, because it's only going to play out in the same circle, in the same loop. Let them have whatever version of reality they want to interpret. Let them be wrong. Let it be hilarious. Let it be whatever, so that you can move forward. Keep in mind that this will be a pattern that it continues for them, and they will always have that next person on standby. This is why narcissistic individuals often move on quickly, so they don't have to self-reflect or understand themselves at a deeper level. They move on to get their next narcissistic supply. There's always a backup or more options or someone else available right away. Again, there's always people on standby. Be sure to create new boundaries around your private life, especially if you think there are flying monkeys around, people you have in common who are spying on you. And they could be innocent. Like, that doesn't mean they're a bad person or that they consciously know what's going on. But you can assert that your life isn't open to them and you're not open to sharing at this time. Be sure to prioritize your own healing, your own self-love. When you get tired, when you are drained by their energy, their attacks, their character assassinations, their lies, but you know the truth and you can see it from that vantage point, acknowledge yourself and how far you've come, and seek support from people who can be strong for you. Friends who remind you of what you've endured or what you've been through. Friends who have held your hand through the experiences, the breakdown of the relationship. People who are in your corner and who will be strong for you on the days when you feel weaker. And this is why having those therapists, healers, or professionals around are also going to ground you, remind you of your strength and what you're learning, as well as help you practice your own boundaries. Also remember that no one escapes their karma or the consequences of their energy, and that there is the universal law of cause and effect. There is the universal understanding that what you create comes back to you. So be intentional with what you're creating for yourself. You are standing strong in your boundaries, your light, your power. You understand what's going on here. You know it's narcissistic abuse. You know what is at play. Then you have turned a corner for yourself, and chances are you're even stronger than you realize. So acknowledge all the ways you've grown, what you've done on your own terms in your own way. Be very realistic and practical with yourself around what you're learning to do differently, what you're learning to do better, how this has been an important catalyst for you of growth, empowerment, transformation, beautiful new stories opening up, beautiful parts of yourself coming alive because of what you've been learning and what you've come to understand about who you are. And your astrology chart can guide you into more of those depths of what you need. So you're going to be retraining yourself, reprogramming yourself. That can take time. That takes practice. That takes great self-awareness and self-compassion as well. And so finally, look for the universe in everything. Look for the universe in everything around you, and look for the universe within yourself. Look at your own divine spark, your own divine essence. Know that you deserve to be around safe individuals who are responsible, who take responsibility for their actions, their words, their expressions. That you deserve to be around safe, loving, kind people. And those are the only ones you allow into your life, into your world. Look for the universe in everyone. See what shows up, see what comes through, but accept what is. Accept them as they are today. Do not idealize. Do not go into potential or what ifs. You are not responsible for giving people second chances until there is actual demonstration and actions in place that demonstrate growth. And that is something that's determined over time. So let's say it's a sibling who you've been dealing with who has these tendencies. They need to demonstrate that they've changed. And that happens over months of time, where you look for new consistencies in their actions and behavior and words. It's also not your responsibility to take on anyone's actions, words, or behaviors. It's not your responsibility to monitor their growth or their life choices. And so one of the best, most loving things you do is you detach, you focus on your self-love, your worthiness, your personal value. You strengthen your boundaries around what you're learning, and you bless and release everyone on their own path, where they get to choose what they do or don't do. And honestly, it's none of your concern. Your concern is your own energy. So if this resonates, or if this has been eye-opening for you, you can certainly find wonderful professionals on YouTube who offer a ton of educational content on narcissism, narcissistic abuse, healing from these dynamics, understanding what you're learning, and so much more. So please check out any of that free content on YouTube or any other source. Also, if you can, certainly get support from a professional or someone who knows what you've been going through or what you are going through, and know that you're not alone. Unfortunately, it's more common than we want to realize, but that also means there can be more that supports you in your own healing journey. Your astrology chart is meant to empower you, to teach you, to be a healing tool and a consciousness tool into more of your own energy. So turn to your chart for answers. There's no need to focus on another. This is your journey of healing, soul growth, and empowerment, and you deserve to know yourself on the other side of this type of trauma. So I'd like to close this by inviting you to please send love, kindness, empathy, and powerful light frequencies to anyone you know who needs support and love after this type of experience. Please visualize sending them the highest frequencies of love and strength. Please visualize doing so to their heart chakra, solar plexus chakra, or any chakra that you feel called to. And if it's not a particular person that you know would receive the energy, send it into the collective so that this phase of our collective energies can be uplifted, transformed, and powerfully guided going forward. As always, thank you so much for joining me. I hope there has been something that resonates or supports you. I also hope you feel encouraged to trust and love yourself even more wherever you're at on your journey. I'll be back every Monday and Wednesday with another podcast episode. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you back here soon.